A common expression about jazz music is that jazz is a language. Let's take this metaphor a step further and consider the ways in which we learn language. An important part of learning a new language is to memorize and integrate common and useful phrases like, "Where's the library?" or "How's your mother?" We then learn to use and combine them for use in different circumstances and to better understand how the language works. Jazz is full of common phrases, or what we'll be calling cliches. Many of them are quotes from jazz standards or important bebop improvisers like Charlie Parker or Dizzy Gillespie. We can learn these phrases and learn to fit them into different harmonic situations. Eventually, we can combine together different phrases to make longer phrases where they'll blend together into full and fluent sentences. Here I have a list of cliches along with the chords that they fit over. I've labeled them either based on the song they came from, the improviser that famously played them, or their scale degrees for the more ubiquitous phrases. Some require a single chromatic alteration if they are used on melodic minor-based chords. This usually applies to altered or Lydian dominant chords or minor major 7 chords. By the way, if you are interested in these exercises or materials, they are for sale on my website, as well as sheet music from my last video on bebop scales. The link is in the description below. Thanks. To begin learning these cliches, first learn to play one in its original key, then learn to play it in all 12 keys. As you're practicing in 12 keys, try to consider how the notes of the phrase function over different chord types. For instance, "Cry Me a River" starts on the 9 of a minor 7 chord, followed by the 1, 5, flat 3, 2, and 1 again. But if we're using this same cliche over an unaltered dominant chord, it starts on the 13, followed by the 5, 9, flat 7, 6, and 5 again. The following is an example of an exercise one might do to practice the honeysuckle rose cliche in 12 keys, ascending chromatically. Once we've learned a cliche in 12 keys, we can start practicing implementing this cliche over common chord progressions. In this exercise, we are taking one cliche and transposing it to fit over each chord in a 2-5-1 chord progression with a fully altered 5 chord. I tend to think of these cliches as relative to minor keys, so the 2 chord is done in its original key, the altered 5 chord uses the melodic minor scale up a half step, and the major uses its relative minor, which is down a minor third. So to explain further, over a 2-5-1 in C major, over the D minor 7, we play the cliches in D minor, followed by A flat melodic minor over the G7 altered, and A minor for the C major 7 chord. This is an example exercise using the "Cry Me a River" cliche over a 2-5-1 starting in C major. We then repeat the exercise up a half step. What I like about this line of thought is that we are creating a melodic through line in our improvisation. Instead of playing something different over each chord, we're playing the same melodic material 3 times, but fitting it over the underlying harmony. This melodic integrity is not lost on listeners, who will find the motivic repetition refreshing. Remember to practice this in 12 keys in order to better associate different chord types with their implied scale choice. One little note about 5-7 chords in 2-5-1 chord progressions. You will often see in jazz that the 5 chord will be replaced by a dominant chord a tritone away. This is what's commonly called a tritone substitution. You can see that in a G7 chord, The most important notes are its 3 and 7, B and F. Well, D flat 7, a tritone away, shares the same 3 and 7, just reversed. In a 2-5-1, by replacing the 5 chord with a dominant chord a tritone away, we create an interesting chromatic bass line and add tension to the chord. The scale used over a tritone sub, Lydian flat 7, is the same as the altered scale a tritone away, both sharing the same parent scale, in this case of A flat melodic minor, essentially meaning for any musician outside of bass players that a tritone substitution is the same thing as a fully altered 5 chord. Once we know a few of these cliches, we can begin using them back to back over common chord progressions. This is a nice way to create longer phrases with more variation. This is an example of using 3 different cliches over a 2-5-1 with an unaltered 5 chord. Here we'll be playing the first 2 cliches over the 2 and 5 chord in the same key and the 1 chord down a 4th. So if we're thinking in terms of minor scales, over a 2-5-1 in C major, over the D minor 7 and G7 chords, we'll be playing in D minor, and over the C major chord, we'll be playing in A minor. We'll do this exercise first in C major, followed by down a half step in B major. One of my favorite places to use the single cliche approach is over minor 2-5-1s. In the case of a minor 2-5-1, all 3 chords can be outlined with melodic minor scale choices. Over the 2 minor 7 flat 5, we use the melodic minor up a minor 3rd. Over the 5-7 altered, we use the melodic minor up a half step. And for the minor 1 chord, we use the same key as the root of the chord. So, for a minor 2-5-1 in A minor, over the B minor 7 flat 5, we use D melodic minor, F melodic minor for the E7 altered, and A melodic minor for the A minor 6-9 chord. Here, I'm using the 3-5-2-1-4-3 cliche over every chord of a minor 2-5-1 in A minor, followed by up a half step in B flat minor. We can also practice this method over the chord progressions to different jazz standards. This is an example of this exercise over the chord progression to Afternoon in Paris, using the same cliche for each 8-measure section, transposing to accommodate each new chord or set of chords for 2 5s. For an extra challenge, try using these cliches over difficult songs that change scales rapidly. This is an example of what an improvisation over John Coltrane's Moment's Notice might sound like if we combine these techniques together. Once you've gotten a handle on all of these cliches, you can expand by learning more phrases from transcriptions from your favorite improvisers. To learn the most for them, try to do the transcriptions yourself rather than relying on ones other people have already done. Consider what you like about their phrases. If you want to develop your own unique voice, try to create your own phrases and think similarly about your own language's relationship with harmony. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it explains some things about jazz cliches and the ways that we can use them in our own improvisation. If you're interested in any of the contents from this video, they are available for sale on my website for a small fee, link in the description. Your support will go towards me being able to make more of this kind of content. You can also subscribe to this channel so you know when I release anything new. Right now, my last video about bebop scales is also available on the channel. Thanks again, and happy practicing.